Yes, my name is Kathu and welcome to my channel. Learn Maths with Kathu. So today I'd like us to continue doing some more practice questions. So today is when I'll wrap up this topic. So this will be the last part for word problems. So in our next lesson we'll cover a new topic because I feel like we've done enough questions together. So let's get started, shall we? So let's go through the first question that I want us to go through today. A vegetable vendor had these cabbages. He sold that on the first day and 240 on the second day. He added this to the remaining stock on the third day. Part A, how many cabbages did he have at the end? B, if he sold all the cabbages at an average cost of 12 shillings, how much money did he collect? So this is one very easy question. I've been told that a vegetable vendor had 1,348 cabbages. So we'll write that down. This vendor had this number of cabbages, okay? And he sold 750 on the first day. So we'll write that down as well. Sold on the first day, he sold 750 cabbages and 240 on the second day. So we'll write that down as well. So on the second day, he sold 240 cabbages and he added 462 to the remaining stock on the third day. So this vendor added 462 cabbages on the third day. Okay? What is part A asking us to do? How many cabbages did he have at the end? How many cabbages did he have at the end? So part A is asking us to find out how many cabbages he had at the end. Okay? And in order for us to do that, we'll need to subtract the number of cabbages he sold from the number of cabbages that he initially had, okay? Then we'll add the number of cabbages he added for us to know how many cabbages he was left with, okay? Yes, so this man had 1,300 and so this man had this number of cabbages. He sold this on the first day, this on the second day, and added this on the third day. Okay? Yes. So in total, we can say he sold 750 plus 240, which is 990 cabbages. Okay? So in total, this man sold 990 cabbages. Okay? So when we remove the number of cabbages he sold from the ones he had initially, we'll get the number of cabbages he had at the end of the day, okay? At the end of the second day. So at the end of the second day, he had, when you subtract this minus this, you get 358 cabbages, okay? So by the end of the second day, he had 358 cabbages. Let's continue reading the question. We've been told he added 462 to the remaining stock on the third day, okay? So in order for us to know how many cabbages he had on the third day, we'll add the number of cabbages he was left with by the end of the second day, okay? So on the third day he had this plus this. Okay, so on the third day, he had 820 cabbages. And the question is asking us to find out how many cabbages he had at the end, okay? So we can see that this vegetable vendor had 820 cabbages at the end of it all, okay? And just like that, we have our answer. So let's look at part B of the question. Part B, if he sold all the cabbages at an average cost of 12 shillings, how much money did he collect? Okay, yes. So part B is asking us to find out how much money this vendor collected after selling the cabbages at 12 shillings. So, how many cabbages did this vegetable vendor have in total? This vendor initially had this number of cabbages, and he added this on the third day. So that means that in total he had this plus this, which is this 1,810 cabbages. Okay, and we've been told to find out how much money he collected and we've been told to find out how much money he collected in the case that he sold all the cabbages at a price of 12 shillings per kgs. Okay, sorry, 12 shillings per cabbage, not kgs. So if one cabbage went for 12 shillings, we'll ask ourselves how much money, how much money did he get after selling all the cabbages, which is 1,810 cabbages. So he'll definitely get more money, right? So that's why we'll multiply these 12 shillings with a bigger number and then divide by the smaller number, okay? And when we do the maths, we get this, okay? So yes, we can conclude that this vendor will get a total of 21,720 shillings if he sold all the cabbages he had, okay? And just like that, we have our answer, right? Okay, so let's now go through one last example. Let's go through one last example. A minibus had 23 passengers at the beginning of a journey. 12 passengers alighted at the first stop while 9 boarded. 6 of those who boarded at the first stop alighted at the second stop, and 12 got in. The minibus did not stop again up to the final destination. Okay? The charges from the starting point were 50 shillings up to the first stop, 70 shillings up to the second stop, and 85 shillings up to the final destination. Part A, how many passengers alighted at the final destination? Part B, how many passengers were ferried by the minibus through the journey? And part C, how much money was collected during the trip? Okay? Yes, so as usual, we'll follow the same procedure. I will read the question one more time as we write what we understand, okay? So we've been told a minibus had 23 passengers at the beginning of a journey. So you need to write that out, okay? So we'll write that out. In the beginning, it had 23 passengers. 12 alighted at the first stop while 9 boarded. So you need to write that out as well. So, after the minibus stopped at the first stop, how many passengers were inside? So we've been told that the minibus had 23 passengers at the beginning of the journey. And at the first stop, 12 passengers alighted. So now we'll subtract the 12 passengers that alighted from the 23 passengers that were there at the beginning of the journey. Okay, so we'll have 23 minus 12 is 11 passengers. And we've also been told that 9 passengers boarded the minibus at the first stop. So we'll need to add these 11 passengers to the 9 that boarded. So when you do that, 11 plus 9, we get 20 passengers, okay? We've also been told after the first stop, there were 20 passengers at the minibus, okay? So let's continue reading the question. 6 of those who boarded at the first stop alighted at the second stop, and 12 got in. So you need to write that down as well. So here, there were 20 passengers after the first stop. 6 passengers alighted at the second stop. So that means that we'll subtract the 6 passengers that alighted from the first stop from the 20 passengers that were there after the first stop, okay? So when you do that, we have 20 passengers minus 6 is 14 passengers. And we also know that 12 passengers got in. So we'll add that to the 14 passengers that were in the bus after the 6 alighted, okay? Are we following? So now we have 14 passengers plus 12 passengers, which is 26 passengers, okay? So 26 passengers remained in the minibus after the second stop, okay? So let's continue reading the question. The minibus did not stop again up to the final destination. The charges from the starting point were 50 shillings up to the first stop, 70 shillings up to the second stop, and 85 shillings up to the final destination. So here we can draw a line to illustrate this. Remember that these charges were from the starting point. So that's why we are doing this. So the passengers who moved from the first stop to the second stop paid the 70 shillings, which is what these passengers paid, minus 50 shillings, which is what these passengers paid, okay, from the beginning to here. So now when we subtract that, we get 70 minus 50 is 20. So we can see that these passengers paid 20 shillings from the first stop to the second stop, okay? Yeah, and in order for us to know what they paid to go from the second stop to the final destination, we'll subtract this 70 that they paid up to here from this 85, okay? So what is 85 minus 70? 85 minus 70 is 15. So that means that these passengers paid 15 shillings from the second stop to the final destination, okay? Okay, so we finished writing everything that we need to write. Let's look at the question. What is part A asking us to do? How many passengers alighted at the final destination? Okay, so part A is asking us to calculate the number of passengers that alighted at the final destination. So we actually answered this question as we were reading the question and writing what we understand. We said that 26 passengers remained in the minibus after the second stop, okay? And since we've been told that the minibus didn't stop again until the final destination, we can comfortably conclude that 26 passengers alighted at the final destination, okay? Because they were the ones who remained after the second stop. Are we together? And just like that, we have our answer. So let's now go through part B of the question. Part B, how many passengers were ferried by the minibus through the journey? Okay, so part B is asking us to find out the number of passengers that were ferried by the minibus throughout the journey. Okay, and this is an easy one. So since we've written out everything answering this question, will be a walk in the park, okay? So you know that the minibus had 23 passengers at the beginning of the journey. And so in order for us to know the number that were ferried throughout the journey, we'll only look at the passengers that boarded the bus and not the ones that alighted, okay? And why is that? We won't factor in the passengers that alighted because it's the passengers that were in the bus that alighted, okay? So that means that if we factor in the number of passengers that alighted from the bus, we'll be repeating ourselves, okay? So at the first stop, 9 passengers boarded the bus, so we'll add this 9 to the 23 passengers that were in the bus at the beginning of the journey, okay? So when you do that, we get 23 plus 9 is 32 passengers, okay? So at the second stop, we are told that 12 passengers got in, okay? So that means that we'll add the 12 passengers that got in to the 32 passengers. So we'll have 32 plus 14. Are we together? Sorry, 32 plus 12. My apologies. So we'll add the 32 plus 12, not plus 14. Okay, so 32 plus 12 is 44 passengers. Okay, so were there any other passengers that boarded the bus that you haven't factored in? Absolutely not. So yes, we can comfortably conclude that 44 passengers were ferried by the minibus throughout the journey. Okay, and that, my people, is the answer to part B of the question. Moving on swiftly. So this question, as you can see, is a long one, but it's not in the least bit hard. So I'm sure you can all agree with me that this is a very easy question, right? So let's now go through part C, which is also the last part of this question. So part C, how much money was collected during the trip? Okay, so this question is asking us to find out how much money was collected during the trip. Okay, and the charges from the starting point were 50 shillings up to the first stop, 70 shillings up to the second stop, and 85 shillings up to the final destination. Okay, and we illustrated this on a diagram. Do you remember this? Yes. So a minibus had 23 passengers at the beginning of a journey. 12 passengers alighted at the first stop while 9 boarded. Okay, so from here we can see that only 12 passengers traveled from the starting point to the first stop. Okay, because they're the ones who alighted. Okay, so that means that 12 passengers each paid 50 shillings because they moved from the starting point to the first stop. Are we together? So now we'll multiply the 12 passengers times the 50 shillings. Okay, so these passengers paid a total of 600 shillings. Okay, and we know that 11 passengers remained in the bus. Okay, so since we are told, as we continue reading the question, we are told that 6 of those who boarded at the first stop alighted at the second stop and 12 got in. Okay, so since we've been told that, we know for a fact that these 11 passengers must have alighted at the final destination. So that means that they each paid 85 shillings because they traveled from the starting point to the final destination. So in order for us to know how much they paid, we'll multiply the 85 shillings that they each paid times the number of passengers, which is 11 passengers. Okay, so these 11 passengers paid a total of 935 shillings. Okay, yes, and we are also told 6 of those who boarded at the first stop alighted at the second stop. Okay, so that means that each of these 6 passengers paid 20 shillings each. Okay, because they traveled from the first stop to the second stop. Okay, so we'll write that out as well. So we have 20 times 6 is 120 shillings. And we are told that the minibus did not stop again until the final destination. Okay, so at the first stop, 9 passengers boarded the bus. Okay, so 6 of them alighted at the second stop. So how many passengers remained in the bus? So we'll subtract the 6 passengers from the 9 passengers to know how many passengers were left. So 9 minus 6 is 3 passengers. So out of the passengers that boarded the bus at the first stop, 3 of them traveled to the final destination. Okay, so because these 3 passengers traveled from the first stop to the final destination, that means that they each paid 85 minus 50, which is 35 shillings. Okay, so these 3 passengers each paid 35 shillings each. So in order for us to know how much money was collected from these 3 passengers, we'll multiply the 35 shillings by the 3 passengers. And when you do that, we get 105 shillings, okay? Yes, so we are told 12 passengers got in at the second stop. So these 12 passengers were ferried by the bus from the second stop to the final destination, okay? So therefore, we can say that they each paid 15 shillings each. So in order for us to know how much money they paid, we'll multiply the 15 shillings that they paid by the number of passengers, which were 12, okay? So when we add all this, you're supposed to get 1,940 shillings. So we can safely conclude that this minibus collected a total of 1,940 shillings during the trip, okay? And just like that, we have our answer. So the answer to this question is this number here, okay? So as I started by saying, this is the last question I'll be doing for word problems, specifically whole numbers, okay? So now I urge you to continue looking for more questions to practice with until the concept sticks. Because as we all know, practice makes perfect, okay? So I hope and believe that I've been able to erase the mentality that word problems are difficult. Word problems are really not difficult. So anytime you see a word problem, make sure you first start by writing out everything you understand from the question before you start working it out. Are we together? So I'd like to stop there for today. Math is quite easy and fun, right? Exactly. So additionally, I'd like to mention that I offer tutoring services. So if you're interested in getting tutored, please make sure you fill out the Google form that I have included in the description box of this video, as well as in all my other videos. I'll reach out to you as soon as possible, okay? Yes, so if you enjoyed the lesson, feel free to like, share, because sharing is caring, and subscribe so that you don't miss any time I upload a new video. Subscribing is free, yay! See you in 2 weeks' time, same place.